La nube. Muy buenos días, tardes, noches, donde se encuentran. Este es el comienzo de la sesión número 56. ¿Cómo la ve, Felipe? La 56, parcero, ¿ah? ¿Quién iba a pensar?
No, es increíble, hermano, increíble
Ahí
eso.
vamos, ahí vamos. Tenemos gente de España que dicen los españoles Elías y José.
Muy buenas, nada, por
Buenas
aquí.
tardes, noches.
Y Alex también, me ha perdido el Alex por ahí también. Y el David Montes, ya no da cara, dando cara, parcero. Y Reyes, ¿quién es el Reyes que anda por ahí? ¿Qué juega la selección Colombia o qué? ¿Qué andan camisetado?
Hoy a las 3:30
Ay, marica, ¿con quién juegan?
con Perú por la eliminatoria.
Ah, sí. Ah,
Hay
bueno.
que ganar ese partido porque si no, queda
Sí.
mundial.
Queda bombeado. Ah, bueno. ¿Qué dice Vio Reyes? ¿Bien o qué? Oh, está en mute. No le oye nada.
Sí. Bien, estamos bien.
Ah, bueno, listo. ¿Y José qué? ¿Ya mejor o qué? ¿Al pelo ya?
¿Yo?
Ey.
¿Qué me pasaba a mí? Yo estaba bien, no.
Ah, bueno, listo.
Sí,
Que
sí.
lo vi como, lo escuché como agripado, como moqueando la semana pasada. Yo digo, que no nos va a enfermar el José.
No, o sea, alergia o.
Ah, bueno.
Sí,
¿Alergia el fin de semana o qué?
sí. Eso va a ser que no.
Bueno,
Estamos-
y Juan Zuluaga, ese Juan Zuluaga, ¿qué? ¿De dónde, hombre?
Hola, buenos días. De Intel Contigo, Colombia.
Ah, contigo Colombia. Ah, bueno, parcero, bienvenido. ¿Y Nicandro qué dice, parcero? Y a los... Nicandro por ahí anda calladito. Todo sonriente en la foto, pero ni cara da. Y bueno, Roger, Josh, I know it's not your language. You're like, what are you talking about? We'll get to you in a second. This is a group that, you know, we've created quite some time ago. And it was actually Felipe right there that we started just talking one day in the middle of the pandemic. And we said, like, you know what, we should just like do a gathering of just Wi-Fi guys. Like every Friday, we'll just, you know, chit chat. And we have 56 gatherings so far. So it's been pretty good. And now this is the first one that we are going to do with a guest in English. So it's all Spanish, and there are guys here from Mexico, from Colombia, from Spain. And usually there's another guy from Italy, and all over from the US down to Patagonia. We have people joining. So even those who are not joining right now, several have replied and say, oh, I'm going to miss it. But we record every session and we upload them to the Wi-Fi of things.com. So many more than we think. They watch it later, and then they actually come back and, you know, give us feedback or ask questions about sessions that they cannot. Fridays are kind of hard days because people are closing the week and, you know, planning for the next week and doing reports and meetings. You know how that goes. So that's usually what happens. But we just, you know, there are guys from all kind of vendors and brands, and that's what we do on Friday. Just kind of chit chat without the boss being there, and have the conversations that you would have after work when you go have a beer with a friend and talk about your week, your problems, your challenges and stuff. And that's kind of what we do here. So that's
Very
about
good.
it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that heads up.
Hey, no problem. So, Edward, ¿quién es este Edward que se conectó, hombre? Desde el iPhone está conectado. Bueno, señor, entonces, pues el plan para hoy igual es de que Roger y Josh, ellos nos van a presentar de Wyebot, que es la pantalla, está en su pantalla, ¿sí es cierto? La mía. Que es esta interfase que tengo acá. Ya no sé si algunos de ustedes conozcan lo que es Wyebot. Ellos nos van a explicar acerca de la interfase y demás, los beneficios que hace. Yo tengo un par de sensores acá. Uno era de Don Keith y el otro que me lo enviaron ellos y lo he probado. Tiene muchas cosas buenas. Ya ellos ahora nos mostrarán lo de las pruebas, nos mostrarán toda la funcionalidad. Yo sé que a todos nos ha tocado de una u otra manera con el inglés darle. Si hay algo que no entiendan y quieran explicación, o si quieren hacer una pregunta y así, entonces aquí estamos para eso, entonces no se preocupen. Entonces, no sé si tienen pregunta o tema para hoy. Yo sé que Felipe tiene algo, yo creo que lo podemos hablar después, y si no, entonces después de que hablemos de lo que tengamos que hablar nosotros, le pasamos la batuta a Josh y a Roger, ustedes me dirán. ¿Qué dice? Ahí está llegando más. ¿Qué dice Sergio? ¿Bien o qué, parcero? Así nos tenía abandonado, ¿no, parcero?
Poquito, sí, un poquito.
Ah, anda de vacaciones, ¿o qué?
No, es que los viernes han estado como movidos.
Sí, eso decíamos ahora que estamos ocupaditos los viernes. ¿Listo?
Ya.
Entonces, si nadie tiene algo, ok, oiga, para la próxima semana, ve, Nicandro.
¿Qué onda? Ya que llegué, me
¿Yo,
escuché,
parcero,
pero
bien o qué? Sí,
andaba en
ahora sí lo
otra llamada,
escuchamos.
andaba en otra
Bo-
llamada, entonces sí como que me
bo-
hablaste y yo, espérame, pero todo
bo-
bien aquí,
bueno, vos estás con Aruba, ¿no?
seguro.
Ve, es que de la semana pasada que hicimos la presentación de Aruba Instant y de los APs, ya un parcero de la comunidad me respondió y me dijo, yo sé cómo convertir los APs a Instant. ¿Eso es alguna violación o algo de Aruba? ¿Lo podemos publicar o lo podemos hacer como comunidad, pero no se puede? ¿O cuál es el cuento? ¿Vos qué
Pues
sabes
mira,
ahí?
no tenía entendido, sé que hay un procedimiento, está
Ajá.
muy hacia el TAC, o sea, el TAC realmente tiene ese procedimiento, pero si alguien de la comunidad lo tiene y lo quiere compartir, la verdad es que ayudaría bastante. Sobre
Bueno.
todo porque el tag está saturado en ocasiones, ¿no? Entonces, si esto se puede compartir, excelente.
O sea, sí, lo que yo le dije, lo que yo no sabía, yo le dije al hombre, espere, marica, yo pregunto, no sea que vayamos a estar ahí pisándole los
No,
dedos a alguien y que nos metamos en un problema. Entonces, en caso tal, no lo grabamos, pero si se puede grabar y dejarlo ahí para que otros parceros. Yo tengo nomás un AP de esos, es más, creo que por ahí a Oscar Arias le había llevado unos a México porque eran AP solamente y yo no sabía convertirlos a Insta. Me queda uno y creo que por ahí, ¿quién era que estaba mostrando la semana pasada? ¿No era Elías o quién era que estaba mostrando? O David García estaba mostrando una AP que es Aruba AP, pero no es Instant. Entonces dijo, no, esto me sirve de pisapapel nomás, pero si se puede convertir y usar, pues fenomenal.
es excelente, sí.
Listo, parcero, yo hablo con ellos entonces. Listo, si no es algo más, Roger, Josh, floor is yours. I'm going to stop sharing here. These guys all work with Wi-Fi. They're technical. They don't need to be explained what an AP is or a sensor is. So I'll just get to the point, and here you go. It's all yours. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Roger, do you want me to kick it off?
Yeah, if you want to kick it off, I've got just a few slides, Josh. I know they're very technical, but just a few slides just to make sure everybody's aligned on the solution. And then we'll go right into the live demo. But if you want to kick it off, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So Josh Guyot, I should probably update my name on here so everyone can see who I am. I am the Global Enterprise Account Executive for Wyebot. I connected with Fernie online via LinkedIn. Noticed that he did a lot of work within Wi-Fi. We've worked with Keith in the past from wireless professionals. So we thought it would be a good idea to have him test it out to at least see the product and see if it's something that was viable for some of your connections out there. And appreciate you guys having us on today. Roger Sands, I'll allow him to introduce himself, but he's the CEO of Wyebot, and we'll be going through the presentation today. So from a high level, Wyebot is a Wi-Fi monitoring sensor that gets deployed into these environments to track the airwaves from a client perspective, not from the access point perspective. So we're able to tell you what access points are reachable by the sensor, any issues that are going on between the access point and the clients, as well as access points and other access points. So we'll be able to show you not only the issues, but give you a solution to fix those issues. So if it tells you there's too many devices on a channel, or if there's co-channel interference, we'll make recommendations based off our industry Wi-Fi standards and best practices to fix those issues. Along with that, we do have historical data built into the platform so that for 30 days, you can look back at time. And if somebody has a problem that happened, a couple of days ago, say Tuesday at 3 p.m., you'd be able to look back at that point of time at every issue that was going on in the environment. So you can figure it out, diagnose it remotely, because at the end of the day, scaling a Wi-Fi business out by doing everything manual, it's very difficult, as you all know. I mean, going out into the field and using all your handheld devices and trying to figure out and troubleshoot is very time consuming. So if you could have essentially a Wi-Fi engineer in a box sitting at all these locations and measuring that data and sending it back to a cloud portal, you can log into a cloud portal at any point in the day, look at what's going on in the health of your network, both from an access point, a client point, and internet connectivity. Do you actually have connection to the internet? And in addition, we're able to give you packet capture data. So if you needed to do any kind of wireless traces, we can do packet captures right from the device level. And we also have a built-in spectrum analyzer. So you're getting that kind of RF frequency analytics within the device as well. So we're scanning all channels with our 3 Wi-Fi radios. You're getting your 2.4 metrics, your 5 gig metrics. And then our third radio is kind of a configurable one to either be connecting to the internet or doing network tests. So in essence, that's what the solution does. It's on a subscription basis. So we charge per sensor per year. And the more sensors and the more years the customer goes with, the price goes down per sensor. But we do have unlimited users. So if you have a team of 30 Wi-Fi professionals that want to log in and see the network, they can all have access to that. Beyond that, it's the hardware itself is on a lease. So if anything happens to the manufacturer from a manufacturing standpoint, if it shuts down, we just replace that at no charge. It's all part of the subscription fee. Same with support and upgrade. So if there's any new features that roll out, those will automatically get pushed out to the dashboard. And then we have our, we have a full support model as well. The ding, I thought someone was asking a question. So we have a full support model included with that as well. That's onboarding, helping you name access points, naming all your client devices, and optimizing your network, because when you first start deploying these, you're going to see a lot of discrepancies you didn't know were even there. And I'll let Roger dive into that a little bit deeper, but that's because we're going to be able to show you information from outside of your network as well, because we're going to connect in as if we're a client, but because we're passively scanning, we can collect data around those buildings as well from the access points from those neighboring businesses. You know, so if you have a lot of condensed businesses together, and you're all running on the same channels, you're going to get co-channel interference. And we'll be able to show you that data so you can optimize your network to run smoother without interruption from any neighboring access points. I'll leave it right there if there's any questions before I turn it over to Roger.
Josh, I do have a question if you don't mind. So I have a couple of sensors here, and yeah, they gather great data, and I'm sure you go through all these details to the group later, but I have a question. All this stuff is in the cloud. If, let's say I lose internet connectivity in my house, will these guys collect data while I'm down and then sync with the cloud later, or will it only work like online all the time?
It'll store data. It'll store data locally for a period of time. It doesn't have infinite storage, obviously, but yes, if you lose outage for half hour, it'll store the data and then resync to the cloud when it comes back.
Okay. That was my question. So go right ahead.
Great. Josh, thanks for the introduction. Again, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Wyebot. Quick background, I ran HP's global Wi-Fi business for 7 years. And I've been to a lot of your countries, South America, Spain. I spent 4 months growing up in Central America, Mexico, Costa Rica, El Salvador, etc. So I've been all around. It was during the journey at HP when I had my top Wi-Fi engineers out at customers solving complex intermittent issues, right? Operational, complex intermittent issues. And that's when I realized the networks are too dynamic and too important, business continuity, to do that manually anymore. So we built that IoT sensor that you put on site, because that's going 24/7, right? Monitoring and analyzing, as Josh said, the Wi-Fi environment. Let me just show you a few quick slides. I know we'll get right into the core of this, but I think it's worth just framing it up. Josh touched on this a little bit, and then we're going to go right to a live system demo. Okay, so we're the leaders in what we call AI-driven Wi-Fi automation, transitioning from manual operations to automated, transitioning from reactive troubleshooting to proactive troubleshooting. You all know what's happening in the market for Wi-Fi, right? Just explosion of IoT devices, multimedia, of course. COVID has accelerated that. Zoom calls like this, right? Cloud applications. This has put a huge stress on IT organizations. And you folks are actively involved in this, so you understand what I'm talking about. but we've gone from a structured, wired ecosystem to a enterprise mobile ecosystem. Robots, smart boards, IoT devices, building automation, people on the go, traveling around, working out of home. We need a way to support these environments. Josh talked about what we do. Wyebot, with our sensor, monitors mission critical Wi-Fi environments, business critical, mission critical. And we're analyzing those with our AI technology to identify proactively performance issues on the network. And then we can send alerts. Okay, so now we're proactively monitoring this. Everything we used to do when we went on site, we put into this sensor. That may seem hard to believe, but we have spectrum analysis built in. We have historical wireless trace PCAP files built in, RF maps, automatic troubleshooting, all that's built into this solution. 3, what we call key components. 1, autonomic Wi-Fi, that's the automatic analysis and identification of Wi-Fi performance issues. Roaming, sticky clients, interference, hotspots, configuration, authentication, all that we do automatically. Synthetic network testing, very important. The ability to have remote clients around the enterprise. Remote clients. You don't have to go on site manually with a laptop, tablet, smartphone, test equipment. The Wyebot sensor can be a remote client. You can connect in and run a suite of performance tests, quality checks, etc. And then client device forensics, the ability to drill into a specific device, Wi-Fi device, and show a history of all the performance related issues for that particular device. That's the core of what we do. Artificial intelligence, synthetic network testing, client device forensics. It's a cloud-based architecture, as we discussed. We're running our application in AWS. Scale, performance, security, reliability. We have IoT sensors with edge computing. Very important. We have to do edge computing right on the sensor. We have patents around this because we don't want to send all the data to the cloud. So we're doing the analysis of the events right on the sensor. AI architecture, AI analysis in the cloud. We have patents around this. And all of this is wrapped with game-changing simplicity. This is very important in Wi-Fi. The IoT sensor is plug and play. You connect it into the network. As long as it has internet connectivity, it'll come up and run, and within 10 minutes of edge computing, it will have a full dashboard of data. That's what an IoT sensor looks like. What's very important, it has three Wi-Fi radios built into the sensor. That's very important. 2 of the Wi-Fi radios are monitoring your 2 frequency bands. Typically 2.4 gig and 5 gig. 24/7. But they're configurable, software configurable. So you can put both of those radios, the first 2 on 5 gig for roaming issues, on 2.4 if a customer is only using 2.4 or 5 gig. The third Wi-Fi radio is the remote client that you have full control over to run those suite of tests. Cloud-based architecture. Why? So you can have access to the information anytime, any place, anywhere. Home, you're traveling, at work, you just connect into the cloud. Highly scalable, right? We support Fortune 150 companies using our solution around the globe today. What's the value of this solution? What's the return on investment for our customers? The first one, reducing mean time to resolution. And I'm sure you can resonate, you can understand this because you're probably involved, right, in analyzing and troubleshooting Wi-Fi networks. Now with the Wyebot sensor, you save up to 90% of that time because it's leveraging the AI and the auto analysis for you, all 24/7. We eliminate up to 80% of remote site visits. So in the scenario, in the case where you have to go on site, there's no IT staff in that location, and there's a problem, an intermittent issue. So typically you have to travel there with your laptop, with your test equipment. Now, majority of those site visits you can do remotely. You don't have to go. The ultimate goal is cutting Wi-Fi trouble tickets by more than 70%. These are metrics right from our customer installed base. And then in addition, we have valuable end user quality metrics. End user, that's what Josh was talking about. You get lots of data from the AP side. AP management, we complement those. We complement them because we're giving you end user experience metrics. That's the overview. What I'm going to do now is transition to what you started to see already. This is a live system here at our headquarters. Wyebot is based in Boston, Massachusetts. And this is our 2 sensors we have here at our office. The system is very scalable. Okay, on the left-hand side over here, we have locations. Locations, you can have hundreds or thousands of locations, right? It's built for scale. You just define a new location: warehouse, healthcare, education, dorm room, etc. Then within a location, we have sensors, depending on how many are deployed in that physical location. So here we have 2 in the table. We've labeled them cafeteria and conference room. I'm going to select a sensor. You just hover over everything's point and click. I'm going to select conference room. This is the core of the product. What you do when you go on site today, this is the information you're looking for in most cases. Right here at the top, problem solution. Problem solution, we're automatically detecting and identifying issues on the network that are impacting end user experience. All this is automatic. Here they are. We found some in our headquarters. This is live. I can select one of these. It'll give you the problem statement. Okay, the event that triggered. We then provide you with the details. Right here, the details of the event. So you can see exactly what triggered it. And then a solution, actionable item, industry best practice for solving this problem. We have some of the top Wi-Fi engineers in the country here on our team. 20 patents, 100 years experience. And so we continue to add problems to our database. And they could be anything, like I said, authentication, interference, roaming, denial of service attacks. We put them in here, we give you the statement, give you the details, provide a solution. That's the standard flow of these problems. I can scroll down, right? You can take any one of these, different severity levels, okay? And I can go in, select it, same thing, problem statement, details, solution. Each one of these, you have the ability to hide it down the lower left corner. So if you do the analysis and you say this one is okay, we're not going to make any changes, you can just hide it and that'll come off your dashboard. It's a very efficient way to manage these problem solutions. Now, as I mentioned already, this table is real time. So anything that occurred on the network in the last 5 minutes. But as you know, a lot of the issues that are reported or tickets that are opened happened in the past. So we have historical data. Josh touched on that. The blue button up here in the top right corner. Show historical data. This is very important. I'm going to select it. Now you'll see a history. Day, week, month. All of our analytics, business analytics and data, we have a full month's worth of data in our dashboard. So what does this do? You can scroll over this and go back in time. So I can scroll and go back to Wednesday at 10 o'clock. If that's when the event occurred, the ticket, I can select it on the chart, scroll down, and now you're going to see all of the issues that occurred at that point in time. We stored them. Now you don't have to hunt for them. You come right here. Here's a live event. Client device unable to join the network due to a failed 1x authentication. So there's an authentication issue. We provide the client. You can see it right here. We've learned the name, SSID, AP. All of this is provided in the dashboard.
Roger, we did have a question from Jose. He was asking if there's a way to define which APs are yours. And Jose, we're just about to get into that when we go to the access point tile. But yes, there is a way to name which ones are yours.
Correct. Thanks, Josh. Keep monitoring. Yeah, because I can't see those. So, so that's the first pillar. I think that gives you an overview, but it's any type of performance issues. We identify it, problem, solution. Okay. Now,
Roger.
Yes.
So something important here. Click right there where it says Wi-Fi management traffic overhead is too high. And then this one is very common in what we see, because most of the tickets we get is that, you know, they're getting speed tests that are low. And in this case, this will help them. This is very interesting because it will tell you, like, if there is high percentage of, you know, like beacons and probes and control frames, like in this case, that's a good indicator that, you know, something's phony in your network, that something is probably utilizing too much airtime. So this is kind of a good metric to keep in mind.
Yes, thank you. We do industry benchmarking on the networks based on industry best practices. So here, you're right, this is live Wi-Fi management traffic, and we'll show you where it's coming from. Probes, just like you said, probe responses, beacons, control frames, data, etc. Right? So and we'll give you recommendations to reduce that traffic overhead. We are monitoring every Wi-Fi packet on these channels that the sensor is tracking. Every single one, line rate, real time, and analyzing them for you. Okay, let's switch over to the APs, because there was a question around naming, etc., and which ones are yours. So the answer is yes. We have an AP tile here, access point tile. This will show you all of the access points in the area. In the area, it's a live RF map. It shows you the list of APs, the channels here in the middle column, the channels that they're operating on, and signal strength. Signal strength, the far column on the right. So this is going to show you we're vendor agnostic. So it's going to show you everything that's in that area. Your own network, neighbors, if there's any neighbors, hotspots, right? Someone turned on their smartphone, printers, everything. This one table is going to give you a complete view of the RF environment in the area. Now, you can classify which APs are yours. So on the left-hand side, there's a My SSIDs, right? Your network, My SSIDs. I can select that. And what you're going to see is that it's going to provide you a list of all the SSIDs that were detected. Okay, and so what that allows you to do is select the ones that are yours or the ones that aren't yours. So yes, we have the ability, okay, in any one of these to go into the SSIDs, right? You can see them here. So you just define which ones are yours. And we do it by SSID services because some customers will have SSIDs on different frequency bands. So that's all configurable. We also, while we're on access points,
Roger, sorry to interrupt there. There's another question on if it's static channels or how does it define which channel that it's scanning?
Okay, so we have we have 3 radios, as we mentioned already, 3 radios in the product. 2 of them are used for that analysis, this problem solution. And we list them right here in the RF analytics. Okay, so if you want to know which channels that the sensor is monitoring, channel 1 and channel 149. Okay, now by default, the Wyebot sensor will scan the neighborhood and select the strongest channels, the ones with the most power, like a client would do. Once we find those, because we're assuming those are the channels you want to monitor because that's where your clients are connected to the AP. So we do that automatically. Right now, channel 1, channel 149.
Roger, is it even though they're set to these channels, will it be getting off channel and scanning the surroundings?
So,
or you have to manually tell it to do that?
No, we do that with our 3rd radio. That's the value of having 3 radios. So the 3rd radio is constantly scanning all the channels. That way, we don't have to disrupt these two primary channels because business continuity, right? If you're scanning channels, you're going to miss events. So that's why we have 3 Wi-Fi radios. 2 of them are dedicated 24/7. The 3rd radio, which you don't see here, the 3rd one is doing all the background scanning, keeping track of APs, unauthorized APs, and everything in the environment.
And we had one
Does
more
that make
question.
sense? Does that answer it?
Sergio.
Sergio?
Yeah, Jesse.
Okay, thank you. And we had one more question from Nicandro asking about max time for the data saved. Yes, we only save for 30 days in the sensor, but we do have a way for you to export that data with a CSV file, or from some of the graphs, you can export that as a PNG. We also have an API, a REST API, that you can pull that data out and put it into whatever, databases that you may want to keep that data for longer. And does it detect rogue APs? Yes, it does. And we'll go through that momentarily.
Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
So these channels, I want to finish also on these channels. We automatically select them, right? But under sensor config, I'm on the left-hand side, sensor config. Okay, let's just take the cafeteria. We have a radio tab up top. You have full control. If you remember in the overview, there's software configurable radios. So you can come in here and select either frequency band. You can select any channel within that frequency band. Okay, so, and you can select channel width. So if I say 5 gigahertz, channel 36, right? I can say 80 plus 80 or 80 megahertz channel width. And then I just go down and hit apply. And now the sensor will monitor channel 36. So we default plug and play. We'll select those 2 channels for you, but you can always come in remotely come in and select any channels on both radios at any point in time.
So I guess the advantage of having this auto is that if the APs in the area, they're using RRM and they switch channels, then it's going to go to the strongest channel, which is the new channel, then it's going to switch, right?
Absolutely right. That
Correct.
is correct. That's why we do auto. You're
Okay.
right. So we monitor the AP, and if the AP changes channel, then we'll follow the AP, correct, to the new channels.
Okay.
Exactly right. In fact, you'll see that, you may have seen it here in the configuration. See this track SSID. So that's on by default. And that's what you were saying. So we can track an SSID, and if the AP moves to a new channel, we'll just follow the AP.
Okay.
But again, the good news is you do also, that's the normal mode. The normal mode is auto, and we just follow the AP. But the good news is if you want to monitor and analyze other channels in the area, you can do that. You can go in, monitor it for a day or a week, then go back to auto. So it's fully flexible to give you that option. Now, there was a question around, unauthorized APs, etc. So while we're on access points, we have an AP classification tab up top here. It's under management. I'll select it here. Okay, we're going to give you a history of all the APs we've detected. Okay, and see down here at the bottom, we have configurations. Okay, notify on new AP discovery. Anytime we detect an AP for the first time, a brand new one, you can get an email alert. One email alert. Why? You want to validate it's an acceptable AP. So right in here, what you're going to get the MAC address, right? In the alert, the MAC address, the name, the SSID, right? Which is typically informative, signal strength, location. That's all going to come across in the alert. One time and one time only. But that way, if someone brings in a home gateway from outside or turn on their hotspot, yes, you can proactively get notified. You can also classify APs. You can see that here. An extension of what we already talked about, right? Mine, your own APs. This is a one-time classification. Known APs, typically used for neighbors, right? Because they're always going to be there. You know about them, but they're not yours. Unclassified, and then unauthorized. So any access point that comes in, you can classify it as unauthorized and then proactively get notified anytime that AP shows up. Not just once.
If you label an AP as an unauthorized, is it going to do something about it or just let you know that that's not authorized?
Yeah, we're just going to notify you. And the reason for that is, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's been some legal cases out there, Marriott, et cetera, where they did denial of service attacks and it created some concern. So from our point of view, we want to give you a notification.
Okay. You sure you don't want a $750,000 fine?
I don't.
No, thank you.
You can ask Josh if he's got a little extra cash.
There was one extra question in here from Jose about the
Sure.
APs. Are they in monitor mode? You might want to clarify
Or,
on that.
or
question.
maybe, yeah, or the third one I'm sure he's talking about, and maybe can you do something else with that
Yes.
third radio other
You
than
can.
just
You
having a
can.
monitor mode?
Yep, I'm going to touch on that now. Yep.
Okay.
So the first two, like we said, first two are only monitoring. That's all they're doing, monitoring 24/7, nothing else. They never transmit. The third radio is doing scanning all the channels all the time, looking for unauthorized APs, right? Also, it can be a remote client. Network tests. Add a test profile. We have a drop down. Hopefully you can see it. 9 end user tests built into the sensor. I'm sure you'll recognize these, right? Speed test. You can run this right from your desktop on the sensor. Application is very, very popular, right? Any business critical application, Office 365, healthcare applications. The Wyebot sensor will act as a user. It will connect into the Wi-Fi. This is very important now. Connect into the AP. It'll go out to the application server and measure end user response time. So to show you metrics of what your users are experiencing in that location. 24/7. So these are all available. Port scan, a valuable security audit to validate which ports are open on your servers, on your gateways, etc. DNS, we have a dedicated test for DNS performance. And then we've created a link doctor test. That's a trademark of Wyebot, so you haven't probably seen it. It's testing the health of the Wi-Fi link all the way to the internet. 7 tests, 7 built into that one test. We'll show you. And also iPerf, some of you may be familiar with this. We support both client and server with our iPerf test. So with 2 Wyebot sensors, we can run an iPerf between them to get the quality metrics of that link, private links, building to building connectivity, etc. So yes, this third radio has all of these test capabilities. When you create a test, it shows up here in a profile. 1 page, simple. This is a network test. Okay, you give it a name. You can run the test over wired, over Wi-Fi, or both. Most of our customers do both. Now you can compare your wired performance with your Wi-Fi performance. URLs, this is an application test, any business critical URL. And what's nice about our tests, you can schedule them. Let the sensor get you the quality metrics. 10 minutes to once a day. And yes, proactive alerts if any test fails. So you put up the sensors, you let them run these tests constantly. If everything's fine, that's good. As soon as there's a failure, email ticket into the help desk. They can come into the dashboard to determine what caused the failure. I just want to show you some test results. So I'm at the dashboard. I see there's a few more questions. We'll get there. On the dashboard, and here's some test results. Each test, we graph the results for you, make it real simple. So here's Office 365. There's the response time, the quality check in our headquarters for Office 365. There's the last 24 hours. Every one of these tests you can select in the chart, timestamp, scroll down, we give you the details. Wireless connection, which AP we connected to, how long radius took. Okay, you can scroll down, your DHCP server, all this is available to help.
Can you pause right there, Roger? I think Alex was mentioning that he didn't see a DHCP test. Is there a standalone DHCP test, or is that this part of the metrics you're showing right now?
It's, yeah, we've integrated it into our other tests.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a core function, right? Connecting into the internet. So we built it's within our application test. It's in the speed test. They all have DHCP.
Okay.
Link doctor. Yep.
Okay.
And then here's the application results, right? Office 365. We went out to the web servers. We did a response time, end user response time. It's just not a ping. It's a curl command to get the actual end user response. And then we do DNS resolution. Every test point has these metrics. You can also select, you asked about DHCP. You can come here, select DHCP, right? And this will refresh to show you what your DHCP, there it is, show you a history of all the DHCP results. We have DNS, RSSI from the AP to see if that's changing, and radius. All these are available across these tests. Day, week, month, quality metrics to track intermittent issues when they're happening on the network. I want to show you RF analytics here in the middle of the screen. We're monitoring both the physical and MAC layer of Wi-Fi. Physical layer, airtime. We used to go on site with spectrum analyzers, analysis. So this is live data, how busy, how congested the Wi-Fi networks are. I can select this tile, and you were talking about this earlier. Based on the Wi-Fi standard, management traffic, control traffic, data, and interference. We have all of that data broken down along with the noise floor to show you what's happening in the environment.
Can you extrapolate a little bit on the interference metric right there? Is it other APs that are not my APs?
So it's a combination. It's a combination of co-channel interference, neighboring APs, and non-Wi-Fi interference. Non-Wi-Fi. For example, if I go to historical data here, okay, there's the history of the utilization. One of the options is spectrum analysis. So we keep track of all the non-Wi-Fi interference for you. Right here, non-Wi-Fi, see these? These are events that are impacting the network. You can select it, scroll down, microwave oven. That was an event that we had here today, this morning. Someone's heating up their coffee, right? Day, week, month. All of the there they are, all the non-Wi-Fi spectrum analyzers, Bluetooth, analog phones, all those are captured, stored, and put into your database. So it's a combination of both co-channel interference and non-Wi-Fi. All the non-Wi-Fi is here. Co-channel is in our access point table here, because I can just scroll down, okay, scroll down this list, and I can just see which APs. You can just put in a filter on mine, right? Just my APs, because you were asking about co-channels. So I say my APs, hit apply. Okay, there's my APs. And I can look now at the channel map to see if there's any co-channel interference.
Roger, I just wanted to interject real quick. I know we're coming up to the top of the hour here. We have about 8 minutes. I know you have another meeting coming up, so I just want to be cognizant of that.
Yep.
One other feature that we can touch on real quick is the packet captures for wireless traces. But I wanted to make a comment for the group here that beyond this meeting, I can send out my information to Fernie and he can pass it along, or I can put it in here in the chat momentarily. But if anyone would like to test out the solution for yourself, just reach out to me and we can schedule a time to send you a sensor so you can test it out, whether it's in your own environment or with customer environments. But we'd be very happy to allow every one of you to take a chance to play around with this firsthand.
So the wireless trace, very, very valuable. Over here under advanced tab, we've automated it. Start new download. That's a wireless trace. Start new download. We have both frequency bands, 2.4 and 5 gig. We're storing the data continuously. So I can say 5 gigahertz. I can come down here. I can select a point in the past. Historical wireless traces. We believe we're the only ones in the world that has this capability. So I can go back here, start time. Okay, the 26th, 2 days ago, 2 in the morning, right? Hospital. And I can say I want a 20-minute trace. 5 gigahertz, 2 days ago, Wednesday, 20 minutes, hit retrieve. That's all you have to do. Retrieve. That will send a command to the sensor, and the sensor will load the file right on here in the dashboard. You can then put it into Wireshark, send it off to an AP vendor, IoT vendor, etc. But it's all automated. And we can store up to a week or more. Yes, a week's worth of wireless traces on the IoT sensor.
And this is
Josh,
by
I'm gonna
default.
pause
This
there.
is by default. Then it's doing it. You don't have to go in and tell it to do it. It's doing it.
They're automatically doing it, automatically. We love those traces, so we got it all automatic.
Packet trace,
Josh,
or
I'm
it
gonna
didn't happen, right?
What's that?
Packet trace, or it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
So Josh, with 5 minutes to go, I do want to respect everybody's time. I want to open it up for questions, Josh, and let you plan next steps or summarize.
Sure. Thank you very much, Roger. So yeah, with that, are there any other questions on the platform or the service in general?
I'm sure we're gonna have a long discussion after you guys are done. I noticed we have, hey, where's Maite? Maite, we have Leandro, Leito. ¿Qué onda, Leito? ¿Cómo vamos, parcero? Alfredo. Several from Aruba. You guys have, of course, this is a vendor neutral one, and everybody's just looking out there. You know, everybody's got a solution. We used to have Air Magnet that used to, also provide sensors and do things. What is it called in Aruba? Is it Uxi, right? Alejandro?
Uxi.
Yes.
User experience inside.
And how is the I mean, how does this compare? We're not here to say who's better, who's worse, but is this a product that, I mean, we as network professionals can benefit from? I've had a couple of these sensors for a while, and I hadn't done the packet trace stuff, and I'm like, what? So I can just go back. I'm as we speak, I'm like trying to download one of those and look at it, because these are things that are useful. They're useful in our environments. How is UXI, Nicandro, one of you guys can like look at this stuff and say like, yeah, this, I mean, this is, I don't know if it's superior, it's superior. If not, I mean, Roger, you say you were in HP before, right?
I ran HP's business for 7 years, and actually I drove the acquisition of Aruba.
Wow.
So I know the executives at Aruba very well. A couple of them have left, Dominic Orr and KRT. I've worked with KRT for a long period of time. So long before HP, actually, I built his first access points 20 years ago. So great organization, great team. I loved them. That's why we acquired them. They have a very good product in the UI that you were just talking about. But I will say this, there is a difference. I just want to be candid for everybody on the call, and you guys can decide. It's an awesome product. The difference is when we built our product, we thought about everything that we had to do when we went on site, right? To troubleshoot and analyze and optimize these problems. And so we built an IoT sensor which has 3 Wi-Fi radios, 3, right? Where the current Aruba one has 1, because their focus, of course, is quality metrics, right? Doing end user quality metrics, network testing. But we put 3 in there because we want to dedicate from a client side, not an AP side, to be able to monitor the airwaves on 2 frequency bands round the clock, right? If you're selling into healthcare, you're selling into warehousing, education, you can't time slice it. Somebody was asking earlier, right? Because you might miss the event. So we built a higher end platform that can monitor those 24/7, which also gives us the ability to have historical PCAPs, right? So we're in hundreds of Aruba shops today, to be honest with you. And they love it. It just complements their system that they have today.
And this
Does
will
that
work
answer your
with
question?
and this will work with any vendor. Yeah, some people same thing as other solutions out there. Of course, we're trying to reach out to everybody. But now I did have a question on the location of the sensors. Where do you recommend to mount the sensors? Because for the most part, they're mounted up in the ceiling, right? But
Yeah, so the typical deployment is sealing a wall, because customers are looking for 24/7, right? They're looking for Wi-Fi assurance,
yes,
right, on the operational side. So they'll put them on the ceilings and walls. But the good news is you can move them around, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're plug and play. So you can take one out of one location, move it into another. You can put it on a desk or, bookcase if you want to run different testing. So it's very
Yeah.
flexible, but they typically are mounted in warehousing and healthcare on the walls and ceilings.
And mine's I keep on this here on the desk. Yeah, I'm moving around. Of course, I don't have a big shop, but the reality is you want a third sensor that works as a client. So having this guy 2 meters away from the AP up in the ceiling, clear line of sight, that's really straightforward. But how about putting it down where the clients are, to have that experience in case you're surrounded by stuff, so it has the flexibility.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And we have a lot of customers that do that their primary focus is on that client experience, as well as while it's getting the client experience, like you said, down on the floor, shop floor, strapped to a pole, etc. At the same time, it's still getting all of the RF analytics, right? Meaning it's monitoring the PCAP files and doing the AI engine, even when it's in that location. So it'll identify proactively the performance related issues, whether it's on the ceiling or on the bookcase.
What's this USB port used for?
Extended wireless traces. So for
Okay.
extending the PCAP.
Like storage.
Yeah, it's
Storage.
a USB dongle. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and that'll give you more than just 24 or a week's worth. It'll allow you to keep up to a month's worth of PCAP data. And there was one other question from Jose about location utility. Are you asking the question that Fernie just asked about where to place it, or is it from how do you create new locations, Jose?
Are there any ways you have a roaming problem or something like that to detect in which place this happened? No? You have the log, more or less you should know the position of the client who had the problem, but do you know specifically where this problem was happening?
Yeah, and I think he's making a reference to the roaming issue. If you have a client that is moving a warehouse and is roaming, if you can identify the location and from where to where.
Yes. So we don't do the so yes, I'm going to say yes. I mean, we don't do the traditional location tracking services that you're probably familiar with, but let me explain. The beautiful thing about Wyebot is, because we have multiple radios, you can have 2 radios on 5 gigahertz. And that's what our customers do to solve the roaming issues. So, or 2 on 2.4, right? So let's assume it's a client roaming in a warehouse on 5 gig. You can then have both the radios on 5 gig. And now you'll pick up all the transition between the first one and the second one, do the roaming analysis. We'll have PCAP traces, and we'll be able to identify, based on where the location is, the location of the client, right? Because we have signal strength, etc. I'm going to pause here. This is a great conversation. This is what we like to talk about. So thank you for inviting us. I have to drop. Josh might be able to stay a little bit longer, but we can always have a follow-up. So I'm just letting you know, not being rude. I just got to switch over to another call.
No. And thank you very much.
Excellent call.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming here. Definitely, I will forward your information to everybody. Feel free to drop anytime. I appreciate your time to come here and show us this product. That's great. You know, appreciate that.
Yeah, we're honored actually with this audience, with the expertise that's on this call. So we welcome your feedback on the platform. Connect with Josh if you want a free trial unit, and yeah, just give us feedback. That's great.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Roger. I did put my information in the chat bar, so if anyone needs it, I have my LinkedIn phone number and email address over there. But unless anyone has any questions, I'll drop as well, and I'll see if anyone gets back to me. But we can schedule anytime. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer at any moment.
And what I will do is I will send you contact information also in the email, because after I bring the recording up, I send it to the whole group, and we have about 450 members. So I'll be sending it to everybody. Of course, not everybody's here. As we mentioned earlier, Fridays are particularly busy. People are closing the week and reports and stuff. So I'll send it to everybody, and many people will be watching this after the fact. So
fantastic.
I'll let everybody know about your contact information.
Thank you, Fernie, and everybody else. Nice to meet everyone. Hopefully we talk soon, and you guys have a nice weekend.
Josh, thank you very much. Have a good weekend, you too.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bueno, parceros y parceras, por ahí andaba Alejandra. Hola, ¿qué hizo la gente? Juego que Alejandra. Oh, ahí está Alejandra. Hola, Alejandra. ¿Cómo estás, Alejandra?
Hola, muy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú?
Bien, bien. ¿Qué hay de nuevo?
Nada, aquí aprendiendo.
Ah, bueno, así estamos todos, no se preocupe. Y por ahí andaba Maite también, vino y se fue. ¿Qué Leito? ¿Qué más, parcero? Rara vez viene el Leito por acá, hombre. Acordó de los pobres esta semana. No, viejo Leo, ni está. El Alfred, viejo Alfred, sí, por ahí andamos.
No, sí ando aquí, nada más que me tocó atender una llamada, pero ahora regreso.
Bueno.
Saludo a todos.
Listo, dale pues, parcero, dale pues. Entonces, buen producto, pues ya hacía días yo lo tenía acá, yo había más o menos visto lo de las capturas, pero entonces está bueno eso que puede uno volver el tiempo y mirar capturas de eso. Una de las desventajas, yo creo, obviamente, lo de los canales, de esos sensores de UXI que tienen ustedes, ¿cómo funcionan eso o cómo comparan con estos? Porque esa es la solución básicamente de Cape Networks, ¿no?
Correcto. Correcto, de hecho, estaba viendo precisamente que son muy, muy similares. Precisamente por eso hacía algunas preguntas para ver si realmente tenían la misma la parte de Wyebot. Los veo muy similares, solo que en la competencia o en México no se ven tan seguido este tipo de marcas. Hace un par de semanas estuvimos precisamente haciendo una comparativa, pero estábamos con el producto de Cisco, que es el Thousand Eyes, y el Catchpoint, que es otro producto muy similar, pero están dedicados más bien a otro segmento de productos, ¿no? Entonces, la verdad es que es más complicado hacer una comparativa con esos productos que con este que estaba viendo que es Wyebot. Yo creo que con Wyebot, podemos competir bastante bien porque hacen funcionalidades muy, muy similares. Entonces, sería cuestión nada más de como mandar o contactar a George para ver si tenemos algo de información. Y pues, sobre todo ver cómo podemos, pues competir, ¿no? Porque pues al final de cuentas somos competencia con ellos.
Sí, claro. Pero entonces, no, y lo que pasa es de que yo siempre he sido amigo de esto, y eso me tocó batallar bastante con los de Cisco, que cuando estaba uno de los de Cisco allá decía, no, es que Aruba, no hables aquí de otros fabricantes, pero uno tiene que saber lo que la competencia tiene. Sí, exactamente. Porque ¿cómo va a decir usted nosotros somos mejores si dicen, pero es que ellos tienen Link Doctor, ustedes tienen Link Doctor? Puta, ¿qué eso qué es? Sí, pues es algo que ellos, a lo mejor ustedes lo hacen igual o mejor, pero tiene otro nombre. ¿Sí? Entonces hay que conocer la competencia para uno saber a qué atenerse. Entonces, eso es una buena oportunidad para conocer de estos productos y es una buena oportunidad también. Si quieren de los sensores, hablan con Josh y ese les manda un sensor de esos. Y creo que ahí en México, creo que Jesús Bred, el de Sama, creo que también le mandaron uno y le mandaron uno también a no me acuerdo el nombre de este loco ahora, pero él está ahí en México también. Y pueden pedirme, ¿no? En España también. Ustedes dicen, quiero ver un sensor de eso, le mandan uno y son bien fáciles de configurar y son bien intuitivos. Estaba mirando acá lo de la captura. Vamos a ver si en este raco acá me da
¿Sabéis más o menos los costes? ¿Cuánto podría costar un sensor y una suscripción?
Se nos olvidó eso. El sensor no lo venden. Lo que él me había explicado es de que cuando te inscribes pagas, la verdad no me acuerdo
Anual.
por sensor al año, creo que son como, no me acuerdo, eran $1000 tal vez, pero entonces por sensor al año y es como en un lease, o sea que cuando ya termina la suscripción, pues lo devuelves. Si falla, pues te mandan otro. Entonces es una suscripción por sensor. Espérate.
$1000 por sensor, ¿no?
¿Ah?
$1000 por sensor al año.
Algo así, no me sostenga la palabra en eso, porque la verdad me parece que era algo así al año. Puede que sea menos, puede que sea más, pero entonces sí es por suscripción. Ese es un valor anual por sensor. Y como él decía, si tienen más sensores, entonces pues le baja el precio o más años.
Lo veo demasiado.
Sí, puede que lo sea. Puede que yo esté equivocado, no sé.
Cualquier infraestructura de APs con gestión en cloud, con suscripciones premium.
No, eso se empieza a subir muchísimo. Y lo que ellos recomiendan es de que, y eso lo hacía desde Air Magnet, hace unos 15 años decían un sensor de estos por cada 4 APs. Y entonces, pues, si tú en un warehouse tienes 100 APs y hablas de uno por cada 4, te van a necesitar 25 de estos señores en una ubicación. Entonces, depende qué nivel de monitoreo requieran y qué es lo que y qué tan crítico sea lo que estén haciendo. Pero sí puede tener unos de los resultados. Ahí se pueden hacer varios que pueden dar en buena información y le pueden dar una idea. A veces lo que hace uno es moverlos de parte a parte según los clientes que tengan problemas. A veces que en la recepción o que en el área donde se chequean los camiones al entrar o al salir o lo que sea. Entonces se pueden poner, vale la pena ponerlo en un sector de esos donde se vea la parte más crítica. Sí, no es que hay que poner uno en cada rincón o cada 4 APs, no, pues a veces a lo mejor no pone uno con esa tasa, pero sí pone uno en las partes más críticas, que no tenga uno que estar yendo allá, que no tenga uno que estar enviando a alguien y a veces pues no es conveniente. Ya si es una empresa grande como lo hacemos como con los WLAN PIs, que es algo sencillo, barato y se pone en un sitio y ese te da información, se puede conectar como sensor del Wi-Fi Explorer Pro de Adrián Granados, se pueden también hacer capturas remotas y obviamente no va a ser la misma potencia y las mismas capacidades que tiene un dispositivo de estos, pero entonces puede dar más información de manera conveniente para uno que lo está haciendo remotamente.
Claro, además, ¿cómo justificas esto, Ferney? Porque tú dices a una empresa que le quieres vender este equipo como monitor, ¿no? Y lo primero que se me ocurre es que me dice, ¿para qué te tengo a ti, no? Si te tengo a ti para que me solucione los problemas de wifi, aparte te tengo que comprar un equipo.
Sí,
¿Cómo
sí.
justificas esto a la empresa que tú eres el mantenedor?
Y más que todo que en el ambiente que nosotros nos movemos, nuestros clientes nos compran una AP y ya quieren servicio técnico gratis de por vida, ¿sí? Entonces es más difícil aún porque ya dicen, no, pues como tú me lo vendiste, entonces ya te llaman el viernes por la noche, el sábado, es que mira, es que hay un problema acá que se atascó el papel, a ver si vienes de puta, pero te vendí una AP, no, pues que el Wi-Fi me está atascando el papel. Entonces ya quieren que todo lo de tecnología, entonces es culpa tuya, ¿sí? El del Wi-Fi. Entonces,
yo esto veo como un dispositivo, como una herramienta de una empresa que se dedica a soluciones de problemas o instalaciones que tú acabas de realizar una instalación, a lo mejor lo dejas para que esté ahí un mes, pero al final pues retiras. Una vez solucionado.
Claro.
Para validación.
Claro, porque si uno, digamos, yo algo así utilizaría, antes que yo le hacía tecnología a varios clientes, a empresas, sí, que yo les hacía a ellos todo, lo impresoras y servidores y todo, entonces de poner un sensor allá y cada vez que haya un problema o cada vez que se detecte algo, que me mande notificaciones. De ahora lo tengo configurado para que me mande notificación cada vez que hay un AP nuevo y veo que por acá los vecinos, eso para diciembre, eso que un Google nuevo, que un de estos nuevos, ¿por qué? Porque se van a Costco y compran esos mesh, que ahora están viendo mucho que le venden un sistema mesh a la gente, ya no para la casa, quitan el viejo, ponen el nuevo, entonces entonces ya esto lo detecta, entonces ya sé que van subiendo ahí y qué fabricante y según la fuerza de la señal más o menos qué tan lejos está. Entonces, puede que sea útil en ese caso, sí, como dices tú, si uno le suministra servicios o monitoreo, eso le ahorra tiempo a uno, le ahorra plata, porque si a mí me toca manejar hasta cierto punto, mandar a un ingeniero allá, mientras con esto me da al menos la información básica que yo así nomás entrando al dashboard puedo ver, es que tienen, y algo bueno, dice, es que hay tantos APs y todos están en diferentes anchos de canal y entonces eso puede que esté causando algo de interferencia. Entonces, eso es un buen punto para ver remotamente sin necesidad de ir hasta allá. Sí, obviamente si a usted le pagan por el viaje y le pagan por hora, pues usted prefiere ir hasta allá y entonces acumular ese tiempo. Pero si es un cliente, digamos que usted tiene un contrato semestral o anual y entonces vaya o no vaya, se los pagan, entonces pues le sale a usted mejor no tener que ir hasta allá a hacer un escaneo, sino que lo hace remotamente. Entonces, en ese caso justificaría y entonces lo puede uno hasta llevar de cliente a cliente, porque eso no es que esté conectado a un sitio, usted donde va y lo conecta, usted entra al portal y ahí lo configura y ya le dice qué es lo que va a hacer, entonces lo puede estar moviendo de cliente a cliente. El cliente que me está dando problemas esta semana, me lo llevo para allá y lo dejo ya esta semana a ver qué puedo ver o hacer capturas o en un lugar específico, en canales específicos. Entonces, esa parte puede ser flexible y puede ser conveniente. Es más, hasta para ustedes, para un canal, por ejemplo, de Aruba o Rucos o el que sea, que usted le ayuda a clientes y siempre vienen a usted, que es el ingeniero pues, que les da soporte a su cuenta. Entonces, eso también puede ayudar en muchos sitios para ayudarle a usted a eliminar tiempo de viajes y llamadas de cuestiones de troubleshooting. El Necandro o los de Aruba, ¿ustedes eso de UXI, eso es aparte de los APs o viene integrado en algunos APs?
No, esa parte de UXI. De hecho, precisamente contestando a José y a Alex, precisamente lo que se ocupa o como tomamos nosotros es que cuando se vende un proyecto que sabemos que es problemático porque está a la mitad de ciudad y hay demasiados access points, demasiadas frecuencias, interferencias y demás, la mejor forma pues, precisamente es detectar qué es lo que está sucediendo en ese transcurso de tiempo mientras el producto está siendo instalado o va a permanecer instalado. Suponiendo, ¿no? Compró a alguien sobre una de las avenidas más importantes, hay demasiadas empresas con wireless. La idea es simplemente vas, lo instalas, lo dejas probando ahí 3 días. En 3 días te aparece precisamente toda esta información. En donde te dice, mira, estás teniendo tantas interferencias, tantos canales están en overlay, bueno, están se están encimando entre ellos, pues.
Sí, sí.
Y la idea es que simplemente tengamos una visión de lo que podemos hacer. Igual como aparece aquí, por ejemplo, dice Issue Detail, te dice cuál es el problema, te dice una solución que tú puedes seguir. En este caso dice, ok, pues simplemente quita los canales que son más bajos, quita los rates que son más bajos para que tú puedas dar un mejor o mejorar la red inalámbrica. Entonces, los vendemos aparte. En este caso, nuestra solución que es UXI, lo que hacemos es vendemos el producto por los problemas o por las localidades que tengan. No, digamos, pues, si son 10 localidades, podría decirte, oye, pues compra un par de esos y simplemente los mandas para que estén monitoreando el medio por 3 días. Los vas cambiando de localidad en localidad para así tener un aspecto total de lo que sucede en la red, ¿no? No es precisamente que te digas, oye, tengo una nave industrial que son de 1000 por 1000 metros, tienes que colocar, no sé, 50 de estos UXIs, ¿no? Porque pues la verdad es que ahí ya sería el costo demasiado alto.
No, y son las 50 unidades más los 50 cables, más los 50 puertos en los switches.
Es correcto. Ahora, una de las cosas que yo no vi aquí con ellos y se me olvidó preguntarle, que yo que voy a mandarle ahí a Josh, es la sobrevivencia que tiene el producto. Sí, él dijo, se puede guardar la información de forma local, pero ¿cómo puedo exportarla a la nube, no? También que ese es el otro tema. Entonces, también hay varias funcionalidades que tenemos ahí nosotros, que es precisamente, oye, se murió el equipo, sí, pero no tengo Wi-Fi, no tengo red, el equipo está sobreviviendo todavía con la pila que tenga interna, y esa información para que yo sepa qué es lo que sucedió en la localidad remota, es simplemente que nuestro dispositivo se conecte por 3G o 4G y envíe esa información al portal, ¿no? Que esté en la nube.
Eso ya después de que pierda conectividad se convierte como una caja negra. Usted necesita esa caja negra para saber qué es lo que pasó.
Y ahí está la ventaja, no tener que desplazarte hasta un sitio que te va a costar 2-3 horas sin llegar para saber realmente qué es lo que sucedió al otro lado, ¿no?
Y en
Esas como las
México son
ventajas, las cosas.
2-3 horas para hacer 2 kilómetros.
Ah, claro, aquí son 3 horas, 17 kilómetros, ese es un hecho.
Sí.
Yo conozco un caso utilizando el sensor de Aruba, aquí en uno de los bancos principales de España, ¿no? que tiene muchas sucursales y contrataron un nuevo tipo de accesos para sucursales pequeñas que podían ir por una FTTH o por 4G, ¿no? Entonces, para valorar, estudiar durante unos meses el comportamiento y ver que, sobre todo, la red 4G le daba la calidad suficiente, pues fueron desplegando varias unidades de estas en las oficinas y así se pudo hacer un análisis y ver, pues eso, la respuesta que tenían a sus aplicaciones. Se definieron unas cuantas aplicaciones que usaban allí y se veía la respuesta de los servidores y, bueno, que sirvió para esa ayuda.
O sea, los iban rotando.
Sí, lo movieron de unos lados a otros. O sea, no hace falta tampoco comprar uno para cada oficina, ¿no? A no ser que requiera ya alguna funcionalidad especial.
Y yo soy partidario de que estos aparatos no hay que montarlos en el techo y no tenerlos ahí en el escritorio al lado de lo demás, porque ese da un punto más real desde el punto de vista del cliente. Porque
sí, Cisco tiene algo parecido y es así, formato para enchufarlo a una toma de corriente con un alimentador normal. El sensor que tiene Cisco también tiene un modelo así.
Claro, pero otra cosa que hay que tener en cuenta, Leito, ya te damos la palabra que yo que levantaste la mano. Otra de las cosas que hay que tener en cuenta, y los que estuvieron en la clase de troubleshooting vimos de que sí, estas soluciones se unen como cliente y todo, pero pues tiene POD dedicado, está conectado, como dijiste tú, Elías, a la corriente, porque pues necesita continuidad, no se puede conectar una batería, a no ser que esté en algún sitio donde no haya conectividad, pero por lo general tienen potencia dedicada. Estos dispositivos móviles, después de que les baja el nivel de batería, después de que está en modo ahorro de energía, empiezan a comportarse diferente, a utilizar menos flujos espaciales, a utilizar modulaciones más bajas, entonces, para tratar de ahorrar energía. Entonces, puede que el problema que está experimentando el cliente no sea el mismo que va a experimentar yo, aunque esté justo al lado, porque tengo mejores antenas, mejor equipo y potencia dedicada. Leo.
¿Cómo estás? Primero que nada, una disculpa.
Bien, parcero, no, fresco, hombre, que para nosotros azarándole el ambiente y usted ocupa, hombre. Bien, bien, bien.
Y tratando de tomar sesiones interesantes, pero nada más me marcan para reportar problemas.
No, pues nadie llama a saludar, ¿sí o no?
Oye, pues algo que yo estaba, de lo que estaba ahí platicando y me gustaría como aportarles, que creo que les puede hacer sentido, es particularmente de este producto que tenemos de UXI. De hecho les mandé una URL de una integración que está Work in Progress con Zebra, donde la idea es, en lugar de que tengas un sensor físico estático que se enciende por PoE o un dispositivo que tengas que tener alimentado por corriente AC o cosas por el estilo, realmente es una aplicación móvil que tú instalas. No se instalan todos los dispositivos móviles. ¿Por qué? Porque justamente lo que tratan de homologar es el comportamiento de las tarjetas de red, el chipset, el diamante verde que tú tienes en cada dispositivo, etcétera. Y con Zebra, pues lo que están haciendo es homologarlo, porque pues el diamante verde de los dispositivos Zebra en todos sus dispositivos va a ser el mismo, ¿no? Entonces lo que prácticamente se están llevando la aplicacioncita de este tema de UXI directamente hacia los dispositivos móviles, y entonces ya en lugar de tener un equipo estático que pues va a estar comportándose como cliente, la realidad es que vas a tener un cliente que va a estar sacando la misma información que el UXI saca, y lo único que va a estar haciendo es subirlo a la plataforma que ya tenemos ¿cómo se llama? De UXI de Aruba. Entonces, ese es como el approach que nosotros hemos visto que está evolucionando. ¿Cuál es el tema? Pues ahorita es un work in progress y nada más va con Zebra, ¿no? Entonces, ¿qué implica esto? Y esto está muy útil, sobre todo para todo lo que son centros de distribución, almacenes, fábricas, cosas que el estilo, que son los lugares donde estos dispositivos generalmente viven y existen, ¿no?
Ya, sí, sí.
Leonardo.
¿Sí?
Una pregunta. Si yo tengo una infraestructura que no es Aruba, pero sí que tengo 600 dispositivos Zebra, ¿podría usar esta solución?
Claro, esa es la ventaja, porque al final lo que tú estás haciendo, o sea, tú lo que necesitarías sería la licencia de UXI, que es parte de nuestra plataforma de software as a service en la nube. Descargas la aplicación en los dispositivos Zebra y con los dispositivos Zebra empiezas a funcionar.
Bueno,
el tema es que sigue siendo un
Google. Está por defecto. La aplicación esta que comentas ya está por defecto en cada dispositivo.
Ya está en defecto en cada dispositivo. ¿Ustedes ya la vieron?
El Don't Worry, ¿no? El que sale ahí, Worry Free. Esa, ¿no? ¿O es otra aplicación?
No, es otra aplicación, es la de Febras Worry Free Edge Insights. No, tengo que validarlo bien porque según yo es un work in progress. Desde el año pasado, a mediados del año pasado lo anunciaron. Todavía estaba en work in progress, todavía no estaba en release. Había un par de, sabes, como clientes beta, a los que se les puede hacer como una allow list para empezar a hacer todo esto, pero lo investigo y les mando la información para que lo tengan porque sí puede ser algo útil, ¿no? Y la verdad es que no necesitas infraestructura Aruba, lo único que necesitas es la aplicación, la licencia y empiezas a analizarlo todo desde ahí. Entonces todos tus terminales se convierten en sensores.
Solo necesitas eso y plata.
No hace falta tener, digamos, ningunos monitores, ningún dispositivo integrado con Access Point o instalado aparte.
No, es que esa es la magia, porque al final la aplicación funciona con toda la analítica. Finalmente todos tus PDAs van a funcionar como colectores y esa información la van a subir a la nube y la nube ya se encarga de hacer el análisis de toda esa información.
O sea, como agente nomás.
Es correcto, es un agente.
Pero no tienes analizador de espectro, ¿no? Entiendo. Solo mide señales conocidas 802.11, no otro tipo de señales que no
Claro.
Wi-Fi.
Claro, porque va a depender netamente de la tarjeta de red inalámbrica del Zebra.
Correcto.
Pero entonces eso le da suficiente información. O sea que esto entonces sin los sensores, si lo entiendo bien.
Es sin los sensores, es correcto. Eso lo vas a hacer directamente con la aplicación que instalas en los dispositivos Zebra.
¿Y eso cuánto vale o cómo funciona? ¿Es también por suscripción o por cliente?
Es por suscripción. Este es un precio, digo, es un software as a service, está en la nube, es una suscripción que va de los 1, 3 y 5 años, ¿no? Y lo que estaba justamente en definir es si iban a cobrar por cada agente que estuviera reportando información, porque al final cada PDA se va a convertir como en un mini UXI y estaban definiendo todavía los precios de cómo iba a hacerse el delivery de eso. Por eso es lo que digo, todo está como en work in progress, ya no debe de faltar mucho, ya hay un par de clientes que se les puede hacer como un white list de esto, solamente es cosa de esperar un par de meses más. De todas maneras, si ya se pudiera hacer, les paso la información, ¿no? Y sería bueno tenerlo funcionando y verlo, ¿no? Incluso para nosotros.
Claro. Listo, señores. Bueno, yo creo que ya con eso nos pasamos hace rato de tiempo, pero aquí vamos. Entonces, ¿qué más tenemos para hoy? ¿Qué opinan de esta solución? O sea, está buena, yo lo he tenido, pues obviamente yo no aquí poco lo que hago, pero da buena información, da suficientes datos que pueden ser útiles en una empresa. Lo que siempre pesa es el costo, ¿no? Porque no solamente está el costo de la infraestructura como tal, está ya empezar a hablar de sensores adicionales a eso, y lo que mucha gente busca es de que la misma infraestructura del Wi-Fi le dé este tipo de reportes, ¿no? Entonces, también hay muchos fabricantes que ofrecen que tienen un tercer radio para monitoreo o que por ejemplo, uno de los radios que no se esté utilizando, que se utilice para hacer de este tipo de escaneos. Preguntas, comentarios, antes de cerrar el cambuche acá, el changarro. Parcero, los veo como apagados, como achantados, como aburridos. ¿Qué pasó? Ya se va a acabar enero y están ustedes como desanimados. ¿Qué dice Alex?
Pues bien, me ha gustado el equipo, pero lo veo sobrevalorado.
Sí, de nuevo, el precio, eso me pareció que era ese, pero no sé, puede que sea menos, puede que sea más. No se sabe cómo sea la suscripción. Eso es buena información que le puedo pedir al Josh y de pronto ponerla en el correo que les mande a todos con el video. Sí, por suscripción.
Sí, por el costo es complicadito, ¿no?
No, claro, y más en este mercado de Latinoamérica que todo el mundo lo quiere es gratis, todo el mundo quiere barato. Entonces es difícil.
Y más que la suscripción es anual, ¿no? Si por
Sí.
mala suerte usted tiene ese equipo parqueado 2 meses sin usarlo, si lo usa para diagnósticos, pues perdió, ¿no?
Claro, claro.
En cambio, si uno pudiera activar mensual, digamos, cuando se presenta un soporte con un cliente, uno diría, listo, pago mensual 3 de estos y los llevo donde el cliente y soluciono.
Sí,
y de paso los deja un mes allá,
los
deja un mes allá y usted sabe que en un mes le garantizó al cliente una solución con eso.
Claro, al menos coleccionar datos sin tener uno que estar yendo y viniendo, que cuántas veces no va uno a un sitio y pues obviamente, como decían esos, el problema ya no está. Sí, entonces
Sí.
hay que dejar algo ahí que esté corriendo de día y de noche para saber, y que si le dicen a uno, a tal hora pasó, y boom, vuelve uno el tiempo, y en esto, mira, eso sí tiene, es una ventaja de que uno puede regresar a un tiempo específico y mirar captura y eso, pero pues están todas las limitantes siempre de que usted tiene 40 Ps y esto está en un solo sector, pues entonces nomás va a mirar unos cuantos canales, y, o sea, hay ciertas limitaciones, ¿no? No es que sea una solución perfecta, pero pues no se puede descartar como solución para ciertos problemas. Listo, señores, yo creo que con esto, a ver qué mandó Leandro por ahí, eso es lo de Leonardo, eso es de la, ese YouTube es de la integración de Zebra.
Es la explicación técnico-comercial, más comercial que técnica de
Bueno.
la solución de eso, ¿no? Yo creo
Más,
que
más de mercadeo.
Ajá, pero al final es útil, ¿no? Al final viene el cómo, el por qué y lo que se ve, ¿no? Y una pequeña demo.
Ah, bueno, listo. Ahí la miraremos. Entonces, para la próxima semana, yo creo que entonces vamos a tener quien nos muestre cómo cambiar una AP de Aruba de modelo AP a Instant. Entonces, a ver si aprendemos algo y utilizar algunos que tengamos por ahí. Listo, señores y señorita. Ah, ya fue. Oh, no, Alejandra todavía está por ahí. ¿Qué dice Alejandra? Se queda ahí esperando a ver qué. Si decimos algo inapropiado. No, ya tranquila, que este es un grupo todo censurado. Todos se portan bien los viernes. Eso ya es el
Es
sábado.
un grupo decente.
Grupo decente, sí, sí. De principios. De principios delincuenciales, como dirían por ahí. Pero bueno, nos vemos la próxima semana. Abrazos para todos y se les quiere gratis. Por aquí estaremos subiendo el video pronto. Gracias por venir. Felipe, continuamos en esta, hablamos ahorita. Chao, Leo, gracias por venir, parcero. Reyes, ahí nos vemos, Alex, también. Nos vemos la próxima semana, Dios quiere. Y Rodrigo Valero también apareció por ahí un ratico y nos vemos. Elías, gracias de nuevo y nos vemos la próxima semana.
Hasta la próxima.
Ahí nos vemos. Y ya también despegó el Sergio. Entonces vamos a terminar aquí, listo. Parar de grabar.